My name is Isabella Hart. I'm 29, and this was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The kind of day little girls dream about: lace, laughter, love, and finally peace. After years of feeling like the invisible one in my own family, I wanted just this one day to belong to me. The ballroom glowed with golden light, soft music drifting from the piano, the scent of roses filling the air. Guests smiled as I walked through the room, holding Ethan's hand. He was steady as always, calm, confident, the quiet strength I'd fallen in love with. My dress shimmered under the chandeliers, and for a brief moment I believed everything might actually be okay. My mother, Victoria Hart, had even smiled at me that morning. A real smile, not the practiced one she usually wore. But I should have known better. My mother's smiles always came with a price. She was standing near the microphone now, graceful in her silver gown, her posture perfect. The guests turned toward her as the band lowered the volume. I thought maybe she wanted to say something sweet, something motherly. After all, this was her oldest daughter's wedding. Ethan squeezed my hand gently, whispering, "You okay?" I nodded, not knowing my entire world was about to shift. Victoria tapped the microphone, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "Before our lovely couple leaves for their honeymoon," she began, her tone silky smooth, "I just wanted to make a little announcement." Everyone smiled. A few raised their glasses in anticipation. I smiled too, unaware of what was coming. Then she said it. "We've decided to pass the car. Ethan's parents gave Isabella over to her sister Lily. She needs it more." It took a second for the words to sink in. Then silence. A few awkward laughs. The kind people make when they're not sure if something's a joke. My heart stopped. The car his parents had given me as a gift, the one Ethan and I were supposed to drive away in tonight. Lily's laughter sliced through the silence. She flipped her hair, grinning. "Relax, Izzy. It's just a car. Don't be dramatic." The way she said it, playful, dismissive, like she'd just borrowed my lipstick, not stolen something that symbolized the start of my new life. I looked at my mother. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Victoria's voice was calm, almost soothing. "Honey, Lily's been going through a rough time. Her last car broke down, and you and Ethan already have everything. She's family. Family helps family, right?" I felt every pair of eyes in that room turn toward me. Guests, relatives, even Ethan's parents. The whisper started to spread, soft but cruel. "That's awful. Why would her mother say that? Poor girl on her wedding day." I could feel my throat tighten. My hands were shaking. For 28 years, I'd been trained to stay quiet, to keep the peace, to smile through humiliation. When my father died, my mother decided who I was allowed to be, the responsible one, the helper, the afterthought. Lily was the golden girl. Lily was the one Victoria bragged about at dinner parties, the one she called my miracle. Me? I was just reliable. But this was public. This was in front of everyone. "Mom, that gift wasn't yours to give," I said softly. Victoria's smile didn't falter. "Sweetheart, don't make a scene. You're married now. Don't ruin your own night." Ethan's hand slipped from mine. I looked at him, terrified he'd be embarrassed, that he'd want to smooth it over, pretend it was fine. But Ethan didn't flinch. He stepped toward my mother, his voice low but firm. "You're right," he said. "It is just a car, but it was given to my wife." The words landed like thunder. The room froze. Even the violinist lowered his bow. Victoria blinked, her composure cracking for the first time that night. "Ethan, darling," she started, her voice wobbling. "It's really not that serious." But Ethan didn't let her finish. "It's serious when you humiliate my wife in front of everyone we love." Lily rolled her eyes, muttering loud enough for people to hear. "Oh my God, he's so sensitive. It's not like she can't afford another one." Ethan turned to her then, calm, steady, but his gaze sharp as glass. "You've been taking from her your whole life. Tonight it ends." Gasps rippled through the tables. Someone at the back whispered, "Good for him." Another guest murmured. Finally, someone said it. My mother looked like she wanted to vanish. Lily's fake smile flickered, and for once she had nothing to say. Ethan took my hand again and said quietly, "You don't have to stay silent anymore, Bella." Something in me cracked, not from pain, but from release. Years of swallowed words, years of watching my mother defend Lily and ignore me, years of being the one who understood, All of it fell away. I looked at Victoria and asked, softly but clearly, "Why do you always do this?" She blinked, confused. Maybe even a little guilty, but she didn't answer. Instead, she smiled that tight, practiced smile, and turned away, pretending to adjust her bracelet. The music didn't start again. Nobody knew what to do. For a moment, it felt like the air itself had stopped moving. Ethan's parents came over quietly, his mother wrapping her arms around me. "You don't deserve this," she whispered. "Not tonight, not ever." And for the first time in years, someone had said it out loud. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. Instead, I held Ethan's hand tighter, my voice trembling as I whispered, "Let's go home." He nodded, and together we walked out, leaving the whispers, the stares, and the shattered illusion of family behind us. As the doors closed behind me, I realized something. This wasn't just the end of a wedding. It was the beginning of finally choosing myself. The night air hit my face as we stepped out of the venue, the sound of music fading behind us. I could still hear faint whispers from inside, the clinking of glasses, my mother's voice trying to laugh it off like nothing had happened. Ethan opened the car door for me, the car that was supposed to be ours. It sat there, shining under the parking lights, wrapped in a white bow. The irony almost made me laugh. I sank into the seat, numb. "I should have expected it," I whispered. "I don't know why I thought she'd ever let me have a moment." Ethan sat beside me, his tone steady. "Because you still hope she'll change." I looked at him, silent. He wasn't wrong. Deep down, I always hoped for something small, a sign my mom saw me, valued me. But every time, it ended the same way, with her choosing Lily. Ethan reached over, brushing his thumb against my hand. "You didn't deserve that, Bella. None of it. She crossed a line tonight." I nodded slowly, my throat tight. "She always crosses it. I just left." He sighed, turning toward me. "You're not letting her anymore. Starting tonight, we set boundaries." Boundaries. The word felt foreign coming from him. Strong, protective, like something I'd never had permission to create. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. It was Lily. Of course. I didn't want to pick up, but Ethan nodded. "Go on. Let's hear what she has to say." I swiped the call open. "What do you want, Lily?" Her voice came sharp and defensive. "You made a scene, Izzy. Mom's furious. Everyone's talking about how dramatic you were. You embarrassed us." I almost laughed. "I embarrassed you? You stood there laughing while Mom gave away my wedding gift." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You've always been so sensitive. It's just a car. Mom said she'll replace it for you eventually." "Eventually," I repeated softly. "Like she replaced every apology you two never gave me?" There was silence for a second. Then Lily snapped. "You've always played the victim. That's why nobody can stand being around you." Before I could answer, Ethan leaned closer and said loudly enough for her to hear, "Then maybe it's time she stops being around you." He hung up, just like that. No hesitation. I turned to him, startled. "You shouldn't have." "I should have," he interrupted gently. "Because you've spent your whole life apologizing to people who hurt you." The car was quiet again, only the sound of the rain beginning to fall against the windshield. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty for walking away. I felt free. I looked out the window at the city lights and whispered, maybe this is how new beginnings actually start. Not with love and roses, but with letting go. Ethan smiled faintly. "Then let's start ours right." He started the engine, the car humming softly. As we drove off into the night, I didn't look back, because for the first time, I didn't need to. The next morning, sunlight poured through the hotel curtains, but it didn't feel warm. My wedding dress hung over the chair like a ghost of the night before, beautiful, fragile, and already tainted by what happened. Ethan was sitting by the window, coffee in hand, scrolling through his phone with that quiet, composed expression he always wore when he was thinking. "Morning," I whispered. He looked up, gave me a soft smile. "Morning, Mrs. Cole." I smiled faintly. "That still sounds strange." "It'll start sounding right," he said gently. Then he hesitated. "But you should probably see this." He handed me his phone. My stomach dropped. A video from the wedding. Someone had filmed the moment my mother made her announcement. The part where she gave my car to Lily. It was everywhere now, posted, shared, commented on. The caption read, "Mother humiliates daughter on her wedding day in front of everyone." Thousands of views, Comments flooding in. Poor bride. That mom's cold. The groom handled that like a king. I scrolled faster, my heart pounding. She's gonna lose it when she sees this? I whispered. Ethan nodded. She already has. She called me 6 times this morning. What? She wants us to issue a statement, he said calmly. She's worried about her image. She says the video makes her look controlling. I laughed bitterly. That's because she is controlling. Just then my phone buzzed. Mom? I didn't want to answer, but Ethan said softly, face it now, Bella. You can't let her twist it again. I picked up. What do you want, Mom? Her voice was sharp, panicked. Isabella, what have you done? That video is everywhere. Do you know how humiliating this is for our family? Our family, I repeated. You humiliated me in front of 100 people. Oh, stop being dramatic, she snapped. You could have laughed it off, but no, you had to let your husband talk back to me in public. You made a scene on your wedding night. I felt tears burn my eyes. You made a scene, Mom. You took something that wasn't yours to give, and you made sure everyone saw who your favorite still is. She went silent. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd gotten through to her. Then her tone shifted, cold and dismissive. You've always been jealous of Lily. This is exactly why your father used to say you were too emotional. I froze. That sentence your father used to say was one she'd used my entire life, twisting his memory into a weapon. My father would never have let you treat me this way, I said quietly. You don't know what your father would have done, she snapped. He's gone, Isabella. I'm the one who's been here keeping this family together. I took a shaky breath. No, Mom. You've been keeping control. There's a difference. There was silence again, just breathing on the other end. Finally, she said, if you don't take that video down, don't bother coming home again. And then she hung up. I stared at the phone, my heart pounding. Ethan took it gently from my hands and said, then maybe we don't need to go back. His voice was calm, but I could see the fire behind his eyes. You're not her puppet anymore. I nodded slowly. It hurt, more than I expected, but it also felt like truth. Maybe sometimes you have to lose your family to find yourself. That night, as I lay in Ethan's arms, I realized something. The wedding wasn't a disaster. It was exposure. It showed me who everyone really was and who I needed to stop trying to please. And deep down, I knew one thing. Victoria Hart wasn't done yet. By the 3rd day after the wedding, the story had spread everywhere. Clips of my mother's announcement were circulating online. People making reaction videos, podcasts, talking about the wedding humiliation, and even a few tabloids picking up the story under headlines like "Bride's Mother Gifts Her Wedding Present to Her Sister." I didn't even have the energy to look anymore. Every time I opened my phone, there was another opinion, another stranger telling me how they felt sorry for me. Ethan was the only reason I hadn't completely fallen apart. He stayed calm, grounded, almost too calm. That morning, he came into the kitchen, his phone in hand, and that serious look on his face. She's trying to control the story, he said flatly. I frowned. Who? Your mother. She gave a statement to some family friend who runs a gossip blog. He handed me the phone. The headline read, "It was a misunderstanding. Victoria Hart speaks on the viral wedding video." I opened it, my hands trembling. In the article, my mom claimed she never gave away the car, that it was just a light-hearted joke taken out of context. She said I was always emotional and that I misinterpreted everything in the stress of the wedding. Then came the part that made my stomach twist. She said I'd stormed out and embarrassed the family name. I couldn't even breathe. She's lying. She's trying to make it sound like I ruined the night. Ethan's jaw clenched. She doesn't get to rewrite what happened. Before I could say anything, there was a knock on the door. I froze. He walked to open it, and there stood Lily. She looked different, less smug, more nervous. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. I wanted to say no, but Ethan glanced at me, silently asking if I wanted to face her. I nodded. Lily stepped inside, her designer bag slung over her shoulder, eyes darting around like she didn't belong there. "Mom told me to talk to you," she said, quickly. "She thinks if we do a joint video, you can explain it was all a misunderstanding." I laughed. "A joint video? You mean you want me to protect her image?" Lily bit her lip. "Bella, you don't get it. Mom's furious. She says you've ruined our family's reputation." People at her charity events are talking. She's crying nonstop. Crying? I repeated bitterly. Mom doesn't cry unless someone's watching. Ethan stood behind me, arms folded. Lily, why do you care so much about how people see her? Have you ever cared about how she makes Bella feel? Lily looked at him, defensive. You don't understand. Everything Mom does is for us. I turned to her, my voice low. Then why did she always make me feel like nothing I did was enough? Why did she let you take everything I ever had? Her lips trembled slightly, but she said nothing. Ethan finally spoke, his tone calm but firm. You know that car, the one she tried to pass over to you. It wasn't even hers to give. Lily blinked. What? The car was registered under my company, he said. I bought it, not my parents. I just let her think it was from them to avoid drama. Your mother had no right to touch it. Lily's face went pale. So, she lied? Ethan nodded. Again. For a long moment, Lily just stood there, her facade cracking for the first time. She said she only wanted to help me, she whispered. Ethan's voice softened slightly. Maybe she thought she was helping. But what she's really doing is breaking all of you apart. Lily looked at me, and for once her eyes weren't filled with envy, but guilt. I'm sorry, Bella, she said quietly. I didn't know. I didn't answer. I just nodded, because forgiveness wasn't something you could hand out that easily. After she left, Ethan turned to me and said, Now the truth's out there, but she won't stop. Not yet. He was right. Victoria Hart didn't lose gracefully, and deep down, I knew her next move wouldn't just be emotional, it would be personal. It was late in the afternoon when the doorbell rang. Ethan was working in his study, and I was finally starting to breathe again, unpacking boxes and our new home, trying to build a life that wasn't shadowed by my mother's control. When I opened the door, my heart sank. Victoria Hart. She stood there in her tailored cream coat, sunglasses perched on her head, looking like she'd just stepped out of a lifestyle magazine, as if the world hadn't just watched her humiliate her daughter in front of millions. Hello, Isabella, she said, her tone smooth but clipped. May I come in? For a second, I just stared at her. Why are you here, Mom? I'm here because this has gone far enough, she replied briskly, stepping past me before I could answer. You've made a fool of me, of our entire family. I closed the door, keeping my distance. I didn't post the video. I didn't tell anyone to make it viral. But you didn't stop it either, she snapped. You could have spoken up, clarified, taken responsibility. For what? I cut her off. For the way you embarrassed me. For the way you always choose Lily. She turned sharply, eyes flashing. You've always been ungrateful. I gave you everything after your father died. I took a shaky breath. You didn't give me love, Mom. You gave me control, guilt, and comparison. That's not love. For a moment her mask slipped, a flicker of something real passed through her face. But then she straightened. You don't know what your father wanted. He trusted me to handle everything. Something in her tone made me pause. What do you mean by that? She looked away. Nothing. It doesn't matter. Mom, my voice hardened. What did Dad leave? Her silence was answer enough. Ethan had heard everything by then. He stepped out of his office, calm but sharp. Mrs. Hart, maybe you should tell Isabella the truth. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Stay out of this, Ethan. This is family business. Ethan didn't flinch. I am family now, and I've already seen the documents. She froze. What documents? The estate papers, he said evenly. Your husband's lawyer sent copies to the beneficiaries. I checked the date. My pulse quickened. Ethan, what are you talking about? He looked at me. Your father's will wasn't just about the house and assets. There was a trust one meant for you, not Lily. But Victoria delayed its release until you turned 30. I stared at my mother, disbelief crashing over me. You kept that for me? Victoria's voice wavered. You weren't ready, Isabella. You were too soft, too easily manipulated. I was protecting you from making bad choices. Protecting me? I repeated. Or protecting your control over me. She didn't answer. Her silence was confession enough. Ethan's tone dropped low. You stole her independence and called it parenting. Victoria's jaw tightened. Watch your words, young man. No, I said softly. He's right. You didn't protect me, Mom. You just never wanted me to realize I could live without you. For the first time, she looked lost. The confident, polished woman was gone, replaced by someone smaller, older, desperate to hold on to her power. "You'll regret turning against me," she whispered. "Families fall apart when daughters disrespect their mothers." I met her gaze. Steady. Families fall apart when mothers forget to be mothers. She stood there for a long moment, and then, quietly, she walked out. No yelling, no threats, just silence and the faint sound of her heels fading down the hall. When the door clicked shut, Ethan wrapped his arm around me. "You okay?" he asked softly. I nodded, tears burning my eyes. "No, but I think I'm finally free." He kissed my forehead. "Then that's a start." And as the sun set behind the window, I realized something I never had before. Sometimes the end of family isn't tragedy, it's peace. It had been 3 months since I last saw my mother. The house was quiet now. No calls, no arguments, no guilt dripping through my days. Just silence and peace. Ethan and I had started to rebuild our marriage, our home, our sense of normal. But even with all the calm, there was still one unanswered question that lingered in my heart. What did my father really want from me? I finally got my answer one cold Sunday morning. A letter came in the mail, thick envelope, gold seal, addressed to Miss Isabella Cole. Inside was a note from my father's lawyer, along with a single handwritten letter. The ink was slightly faded, the paper soft from time. It was from my dad, dated 2 months before he died. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. "My dearest Isabella, if you're reading this, it means you've reached an age where you can finally understand what strength really is. I know your mother can be difficult. She doesn't always see love the way we do. To her, control feels like care, but I saw something in you from the moment you were born. Compassion, patience, and fire. I left a trust in your name, not just for money, but to give you freedom. Freedom to choose your life, your happiness, and your peace. Promise me one thing. When you finally stop trying to earn your mother's approval, don't let bitterness replace it. Let peace fill the space where pain used to live. That's how you'll win, Bella. Love always, Dad." By the time I finished reading, I was crying. Not the broken kind of tears, the healing kind. Ethan sat beside me silently, his hand covering mine. "He knew," he said softly. I nodded. He always knew. Later that evening, I stood in front of the window, watching the sky fade into gold. I thought about everything: the wedding, the humiliation, my mother's manipulation, Lily's apology, and now my father's words. I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just free. That night, I wrote a short message online. It wasn't revenge or drama, just truth. Tiliov, healing sometimes means walking away from the people who raised you. You can love your family and still choose peace over pain. The post went viral, but this time, it wasn't for pity. It was for strength. Thousands of people commented, saying they understood, that they'd been there, that they finally felt seen. For once, I wasn't the quiet, invisible one anymore. I was the woman my father believed I could be. Weeks later, I got a message from Lily. It was simple. "Mom's moving away. She said she doesn't know who she is without control. I think she's finally realizing what she's done. I'm sorry again, Bella, for everything." I didn't reply right away, but I did eventually, with just 2 words: "I forgive you." Because forgiveness wasn't for her, it was for me. I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, and leaned against Ethan's shoulder. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the woman who survived. The golden child wasn't Lily. It was me. I just had to stop asking for someone else to see it. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Drama, Lies, and Revenge, for more emotional, twisted family stories and shocking betrayals.